guess what we get to play with today? Stick around.
This is definitely the look I'm gonna get when Richard realizes I forgot to grab the intro.
Hey, welcome to the First Slayer. My name is Richard Cleveland. I'm your host here 3 times a week. And on this show, what we try and do is we try to entertain, educate, and engage with you. And today is no different because we're going to try and entertain and educate you on this great little guy. This is the CR10S Pro. We finally got our hands on one. So we're going to open up the box and show you what's inside. And then we're going to go inside the box and show you what's inside that box. So it's kind of a weird thing, but we're going to show you all the stuff that comes with your CR10S Pro. I want to remind you, if you are new here, by the way, go ahead, hit that little subscribe button. Hit that little bell so you get notified every time that we do a brand new episode, and you will never miss some of our exciting content coming up here in 2019. So let's go ahead, open up the box. We'll see what's in it, and then we'll start to maybe tear it down before we build it up. All right, we've got everything out of the box now. There really isn't a lot to this when you think about it. We've got a 200-gram roll of, in this case, white CC Tree PLA. We know it's CC Tree because they always use CC Tree. We've got a box of accessories, and we have the user manual. So before we take a look at what's inside the box of accessories, we're going to go to our over-the-shoulder cam here. And we'll have a quick peek inside the manual. Here's all the usual suspects. I will say they've improved the way that they lay out these manuals. Like, this looks really nice. I gloss paper, which is good. Tells you everything that you got in it, your wrench and screwdrivers and all your tools. So there should be 8 pieces in there. You get your card and card reader, a spatula, pliers, a 0.4 millimeter nozzle cleaner, which is pretty typical with Creality printers. Your bracket for your spool holder, your power cable, your USB cable, some PTFE tube, Z-axis spacer, feeler gauge. Oh, they even give you a feeler gauge now, some spare parts, and of course, all of the bolts that you need to put this together. And it looks like it's going to be pretty easy to assemble. It does come with Cura. It has a touch screen on this particular unit, and we're going to take a look at that in a little bit. Does some bed leveling. It's using Cura 3.0.2 according to the manual. I'm going to just double check that. And there is a nice wiring diagram inside. Try and keep the light off the gloss, but there's a really nice wiring diagram where everything goes on the board. Now, this board is labeled as... It is not labeled. It does not say what version of board this is. So, being that it's not telling us what it is, what do? Well, we go and turn this thing upside down and we open it up. So let's get rid of the manual. We don't need that. We're men. Men don't read manuals. Let's look in this box real quick. Pretty heavy. There's all of our tools and everything that we need right there. You know, you see all that stuff, your warranty card and typical scraper. Here's a nice addition. They put in some Capricorn style tubing. They also have Capricorn style tubing on the printer itself, which is kind of a nice touch. So we will move all this out of the way.
Several words later.
This is kind of interesting because all of these screws in here are Phillips head screws. They're not your standard hex bolt screws, so we need a different screwdriver. So what we're going to do is we're going to get out our handy dandy iFixit kit. Now, this is not the one that you guys are all pining for our contest for the Great Tool giveaway, but it does have all these bits in it. So that's all we really need right now is that. Put that out of the way. We'll open up that. We'll find the right bit that we need. There we go. You can see mine is well used. Very well used. I used it so much, I wore the little rubbers right off of it. When all else fails, grab a big screwdriver. Something you can get your fingers around. So we found out so that we can't take the lid off until we take out 2 bolts on either side. All right, so here comes the big reveal. So what do we have here? Well, looking inside, these little foam blocks should be right over top of the other foam blocks, which they weren't. But that can happen if they're not stuck down properly. Now, let's see what we've got here. We'll go to the board in the front first. So it looks like they've done an upgrade to the motherboard in here. This is not the same one that is in the CRX or the CR10S. This is a brand new board. They've got an updated LCD display, which is a touchscreen, which is right down here. I don't know how well I can get you guys to see that. There it is right there. We have a huge 40 mil centrifugal fan, which is probably a 40 by 20, it looks like. They have a huge SSR in here. And the cream of the crop, let's pan up to that. We have got ourselves a RSP 500 24 volt power supply. So now this is a switching power supply, so there is no discernible switches on the side to change it from 220 to 110. So this switches all on its own, so it'll know what power it's drawing from the wall, which is actually quite nice. I really like the fact that they put this ribbon cable in. They've done a really nice job of cable management in here. We have a small fan at the back. I'm assuming that's drawing air out of the case. It's pulling air in through the grills on either side. And again, they have these nice little foam blocks to help you guide your bolts up when you are going to put the upper gantry on. So all in all, from what I can see here, when you need a firmware update, you are going to have to take off the bottom. So there is an SD card slot right here. Let me see if I can bring that back for you a little bit. There's an SD card slot right here on the back of the touchscreen LCD. So this will have to have separate firmware upgrades, I'm assuming. One of the nice things that this particular power supply has is a nice big fan right here at what would normally be the top of the fan or top of the power supply. It's venting this way, so it's taking the air, it's drawing in from this side and pulling it through across all the ICs and capacitors inside, and it's venting it out into the case, but then exhausting right back here. So not a bad little design. I think that will keep this machine very, very cool. All right, so we had a look inside. We're going to cover this back up. We're going to go ahead and show you just exactly how to put this on, this X and Z axis, or pardon me, X and Z axis. That's right, yeah, X and Z axis. And we're going to talk about some of the features that are on that once we get it installed. So we'll be right back after this. For you guys, it'll be like that. For us, it's going to be about a half an hour. So now that we got the cover back on, we're just going to go ahead and put in the screws all the way around. One thing I do want to point out to you guys is that there is venting right here and right here. This is where the power supply sits, so it can draw in a good amount of air, and the airflow through this should be really good. Now, my only drawback to all of these machines is the fans that they use in here. Typically, they don't use ball bearing fans, they use sleeve fans, and those can get noisy. So on the Meanwell power supply, you should be okay. However, the two that are in here that keep the air moving, you may at some point want to upgrade those. So let's go ahead. We're going to start to put all of these screws back in, and then we'll start to assemble this. So one thing that Creality did over top of the CRX, which we know has a glass, somewhat of an ultra bass feeling to it, what they've done here is they did what they did on the Ender 3 by using some clips, which they have built in to the printer. So you just open up those clips, You grab the plate, if you can get the plate off. There you go. You grab the plate and you just kind of wiggle it out. Now, this is quite a thick piece of aluminum. This is not a flex plate. Bear in mind, this is not a flex plate. I think they would have been better off going with glass here, but that's just my opinion. So you just want to pop it back into place, line it up, get your clips back on, and that's all there is to it. Now, we're going to check this to make sure that it's stable. Everything seems good there. I do like the fact now that they've widened out the surface area that these beds sit on. You can see here that they've got two pieces of 2020 extrusion, exactly the same that they did on the CRX. So we're going to push this a little bit forward. Now, as I feel this moving, I can feel what feels like it bottoming out in places. So that tells me that the eccentric spacers on this are a little too tight. Now, they may have done that for shipping, which I perfectly understand. Let's find out where those eccentric spacers are. They are on, if you're looking at from the back, they're on the left side. If you're looking at it from the front, they're on the right side. So we are going to have to go in there and just adjust those eccentric spacers before we put the upper gantry on. So like every other Creality 3D printer on the market, they come with a nice little tool set, and we are going to take that tool set and we're going to pull out the large spanner that's in it, or wrench, depending on where you are in the world. One thing I love about Creality's bags is they're so tough to get into. These are like industrial Ziplocs. So you'll find a little tool pouch just like this one. We'll just cut over to that camera there. And you can see just like this one, you'll find this little pouch inside just about every Creality that you can see on the market. And the one that we're going to go after is this big spanner right here. All right, so we got our spanner. We want to adjust this, and let's see if it'll show up on camera. So I'm just slowly bringing it back. See how it kind of come to a stop there? And I'll move it again, and it comes to a stop. Now I'm still moving, but it comes to a stop. And that's not because the wheels themselves are damaged. It's because they're too tight. So what we want to do is we want to get in the side here, and you can see that there's two eccentric spacers, one there and one back here. And all we're going to do is we're just going to loosen those up just a little bit. We're going to pull them. Now, if you take the back spacer and you pull it towards yourself, what you're going to do with the front spacer is you're going to push it the opposite way. You're just going to give it a little micro adjustment. See how much wiggles in your bed? We still can feel that it's not as bad. So we're just going to continue to adjust those spacers just a little bit. See where we are? That's getting better. And again, our bed's not wobbly, so we're good there. Now we're going to go ahead and finish doing this, and then we'll come back and start assembling the gantry. So let's go ahead and grab the screws that we need. We know that they're right here. And there's only 4 screws that hold this whole gantry on. And you guys are probably saying to yourselves, only 4? Yep, only 4. And it's the same thing with the CRX. It was only 4 screws that held it all together. And there they are. They're the M5 25s. And we'll just go to the side camera. Maybe we can see that. All right, so there we are. And you can see that we've got the screws, and they will go in from the bottom up. Now, the tough thing about putting this together like that is you can put it on its side. Because it's got those wonderful little blocks of foam to help you guide your screw, it makes things a little bit easier. But we will have to turn this on its side. And Brian's going to help me here, and we are going to be in camera shot for one moment.
You know, we don't claim to be experts by any means, but how hard is it for two of us to put in 4 screws? You be the judge.
Okay, so we've got the gantry on. Wasn't too much difficulty to do that. We're going to hook up these Z motors again. Get that done. Pretty simple build. I mean, at the end of the day, you can have this thing up and running in about 15, 20 minutes if you've got some experience. If you're new to 3D printers and this is going to be your first buy, then you're probably going to be looking at roughly around half an hour, 45 minutes. It has this wonderful ribbon cable connector. I can't remember what these are called. What are these called, Brian?
Some kind of cable I don't care to use anymore.
Okay, yeah. But this has locking tabs right over here. And unfortunately, I'm not going to show them to you. Yeah, maybe I can. Maybe I can. There we go. All right, let's talk a little bit about this assembly over here. So what we have here is we have our X motor, which is already connected. We don't have to fool around and connect anything there. We have our filament out detection sensor. This is encased in aluminum, not like the CR10S, which is encased in plastic and always seems to fall off and jam. And then they have a new extruder as well. This is a dual gear extruder, very similar to a Bondtech in a lot of ways. Let's see if I can show that to you. So you can see that right there. It's got 2 gears in it. So it's a dual gear system. And the way that they've designed this is so that you can actually use flexibles with this system. They've got their little clip here to keep the Bowden tube from moving around and going in and out. And this is a Capricorn-esque style Bowden tube. So we don't know if it's actually made by Capricorn, but we're not going to speculate on that. So we are going to open up these 2 little jaws, just like you would if you were putting together a computer. We're going to take this ribbon cable, we're going to plug it in there. What you want to make sure is there's a little tab here on the bottom. You want to make sure that that tab goes in the right way. And once you push it all the way in, these 2 locking connectors will come in and they will lock that cable in place so it won't come out while you're 3D printing. Now, one of the things I'm not a huge fan of is these large flat ribbon cables. I think we're at a time now where we can forego these. I mean, the connector is great, but I think we can forego large ribbon cables like this and make them smaller and rounder. That way they don't get caught on things quite as easily as these long flat ribbon cables can. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the other features of the CR10 S Pro. Let's just swing it around here. There we go. We're going to try and get that, that extruder in camera. So what we've got here is a little different setup than what they had prior. They've got this nice big 40-20 centrifugal fan on the side. Then they've got a 3D printed blower, which I'm not sure if this is ABS or PETG. I'm going to assume it's ABS. They don't really tell you. A nice feature is they've gone to their new extruder style. So this no longer is the Mark 8. This is the Mark 10 extruder. And they've put their little silicone boot on there. But this also has automatic bed leveling. And this is going to be an inductive sensor because underneath the heat bed, there is, or underneath the actual printing surface, there is a big sheet of metal. So this is an inductive sensor, and it's sensing the metal, not the actual surface of the bed. So it's going to give you a fairly reasonable auto bed leveling. We're going to take a look more about that when we look at the LCD on the front. All of the areas seem to be quite tight. All the wheels around to the side here seems to be good. It looks like they've got a decent fan. Again, these fans are all going to be sleeve bearing fans. So they're not going to be the fans that are going to last a long period of time. So you may want to consider changing those out at some time in the very near future when they start to get a little bit noisy. So Creality puts in this little tool, and it's called an X-axis spacer. What this is designed to do, this is 100 millimeters long, And what it's designed to do is it's designed to help you get your x-axis, and I'm just going to lower it down here by hand. It's designed to help you get your x-axis square on both sides. I'm going to show you exactly how to do this once I get this into frame. There we go. Coming down, coming down, coming down. So this is designed to sit underneath here. So if we lift this up just a little bit, same thing with the other side, what we're going to do is we're going to get it high enough to rest the X gantry on. So there we are, resting the X gantry on it. You can see that there's no movement in it. It's nice and snug in there. It's nice and flat on the sides. Now we're going to take it to the other side and do the same thing. Make sure that we're right in that same ballpark. I want to make sure that it's straight up and down, flat on the... There we go, that's good. And let's just go ahead and check this side one more time. This side's got a little bit of space now. So we're just going to drop it down, and there we are. Now that X gantry should be perfectly square to the rest of the bed. We're going to check our wheels here on the sides to make sure that we've got none that are free spinning. That one right there is free spinning. You can see how I'm moving my finger on it. So we are going to take our wrench again, and we're just going to adjust the eccentric spacer, which is right in the back. We're just going to give it little micro adjustments till this wheel stops turning. We're going to come this way, I think. We've adjusted this eccentric nut, which is sitting right back here against the extruder housing. And all of our wheels are nice and snug now. Everything should be ready to go. Let's move on to the next step of getting this up and running for the first time. Well, you know, our studio's not as big as we think it is. So I'm forced to look through here to see you. But we're going to go ahead and have a look now at the LCD display, and we'll show you what it looks like when it powers up. It is a touch screen, so we're going to demonstrate that for you right now. All right, so let's power this puppy up. And there we go, the Creality symbol. A little music to get you going in the morning, get you started. Now it is all in Chinese, so we are going to have to press the settings button right there. There we go. And we got to find language in there somewhere. I'm going to, I think it's this one right here. Hey, yes it is. So we want to hit English. There we go. Now we'll hit the back screen. I'm doing this upside down. So there we go. Now we're back to the front screen. So let's just go through the menus. We have print, we have temperature, and we have settings. Let's start with temperatures because print is just going to take you into your print menu. So we'll hit temperatures. Now we have automatic PLA ABS. We have manual settings, we have cooling, and we have a way to turn off the fan. You can see down here at the bottom that our hot end is registering at 25 degrees and our bed is registering at 23 degrees. So let's go back and we will go into that settings menu one more time. So here you can see we have leveling. This is where you're going to do your auto bed leveling. We're going to talk about that in a moment. We have disable the motors, so if you want to move things around. We've got refuel, which just means to replace your filament. You can move the axis, and then there's some printer info down there. Let's just go ahead and hit that printer info button. So we can see that this is the CR10S Pro version 1.60.3. This is a 300 by 300 by 400 build volume, and there is Creality's website. So now that we've done that, oh yeah, I'm missing something here. Brian just pointed this out. This has got volume control at the top of the bar. So if we hit the volume control, can we hit the volume control?
Max volume.
Well, let's get down to lower volume. Okay. Well, it only looks like it has max volume. Well, that's not bad. You can always tell when your print's done. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and have a look into the manual, and we're going to show you how to bed level this guy. Okay, so now we've got to go ahead and bed level. And what they want you to do is manually bed level first. So we're going to head into settings. We're going to go over to level. When you hit bed leveling, you're going to be presented with this menu here. You're going to hit auxiliary bed leveling to start off. And it's going to go through its little routine and get it started right at the very center. I always recommend that you bed level prior to doing any automatic bed leveling. I'd like you to manually level your bed first. But before we do that, we were about to go and do this the exact wrong way. And I did that for a reason, because I don't want you guys doing this. Never level your bed when it's cold. You want to make sure that this bed is warmed up. You want to make sure that the nozzle is warmed up, so all that metal has had a chance to expand, and then go ahead and do your bed leveling. So what you want to do is get right back out of there, and we are going to go into, where's our preheat? Temperatures right there. So we are going to automatically preheat, and for this case we're going to do PLA. It makes a nice little sexy sound. It's going to come up to temperature. 195 for PLA is what it's calling for on the nozzle, and it's going to go to 45 on the bed. That should be more than adequate enough for us to adjust it. If you're in a colder climate, you may want to bring that temperature of the bed up a little bit more. Okay, so now that we've got this preheated, we're going to go back to our settings. We are going to level the bed. Again, we're going to hit that auxiliary setting. Obviously, it won't let you go into other settings while it's doing an operation. Or maybe my fingers aren't warm enough. There we go. Just got to tap it a little harder. So now it's going to go to 1. All right, so normally what I do is I like to go corner to corner. So normally people would go 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start up at 2. So it's going to move to the 2 position. I get my piece of paper under there if I can. I cannot. So I want to just slide that under there. I know that that's really, really tight. Wow, that is down far.
So at this point we realized the bed leveling sensor was not calibrated properly from the factory. Although some guidance is provided in the documentation, it's not referenced in the bed leveling section we were following. Please read the documentation in its entirety before operating the CR10S Pro, or you'll end up putting a small hole in the bed like we did. We also did not loosen all the wheels prior to the bed leveling, and so when the bottom left corner was too high, we were unable to lower it further. Unfortunately, we lost the end of this segment, but the CR10S Pro did complete the DemoDog G-code file. However, it was the same code used on the Ender 3, and thus did not print in the center of the bed. Stay tuned for our follow-up on print quality and whether or not the CR10S Pro can replace the incredibly popular CR10S. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted when new content comes out. Until next time, remember that the first layer is your foundation to a great print. See you again.